Guys, thank you all for stopping by. It is a pleasure to have you here. This channel's purpose is to inspire, motivate, cultivate, and uplift anyone who's currently in a space where they're ready to grow and evolve past their most outdated version of themselves. So every day that you tune in, you're learning something along the way. I congratulate you on your journey to self-growth and expansion. There's going to be sessions where I talk about relationships, spirituality, finance, self-improvement, boundaries, knowledge of self, religion, and everything in between. I might even throw in there some technical or scientific knowledge that I've acquired in my career. Thank you all so much for your time. Let's begin. I want to talk a little bit about relationships today. Men and women have each a natural, specific, and unique function when they come together to form a union, also known as a relationship. And the energies that a woman operates in must be honored by the man for the man to receive the respect and the sense of reliance, because I know men govern the dependency faculties of the relationship. A man will feel validated and feel more masculine when he can be dependent on. And we're talking about masculine men. I'm not talking about any other type of man that isn't masculine. The masculine man relies on his woman depending on him, and we'll go into how men who have come out of the natural order and the natural balance of their manhood utilize this dependency to their advantage to create an emotional codependency, somewhat like an addiction, right? For nefarious purposes, for egoic purposes, right? But that's another topic. I'm talking about a healthy masculine man and his role, his function in his manhood, and how that coincides with the woman, and him receiving this respect and this sense of dependency from his woman requires that he honors her in her healthy feminine. The man must remember that the more he uplifts his woman, the more he supports her, the more he validates her making good choices, right? Once the connection is made, you want to feel that kindle, that flame with positivity. If you're constantly spritzing water on it, dampering it down, don't expect there to be an engulfing flame. You're only hurting yourself. And so when a man can honor that a woman wants to, once there's been an understanding, let me go back. Once there's been an understanding, because we're talking about the joining process, once there's been an understanding and a compatibility check, right? Then there is this joining between man and women in their union, and that is the spark, right? There's the chemistry, the compatibility. Those are components that could create a little spark, a little, desire. But in order to create a burning flame, we have to cater to the embers, and we have to keep on fueling that love, pouring in more love, more validation, more honor. When a man makes a woman feel safe and heard and honored, like she's honorable, not questioning her virtues. I mean, sure, that should be assessed before the joining. You don't do that once you've created the spark. And I think a lot of people confuse the steps of what a true healthy union will look like, because they're ideally basing it off of a lot of their past traumas. They're basing it off of the toxic relationships that they have engaged in and what they've seen, play out in the lives of those that are around them. So they have to sort of reconfigure their minds to court in a proper order in order to alleviate for any kind of friction or nicking or nagging or negging. These are all kind of synonymous in their own right, but these are things that will hinder the growth of a healthy relationship that has potential to grow into a long-term commitment or marriage. Now, I want to mention something. Men in particular love when women show them respect, like they respect their decisions. When women respect the man's opinion or his final word on a topic, like they can come together and kind of discuss it, weigh some options, but at the end of the day, she trusts and depends on his final judgment, and knowing that he is sort of able to see things from a more logical standpoint, right? But the balancing dynamic that a lot of courting and relationships, when they're dating, people lack this process of honoring the feminine. And they wonder why there's so much cacophony and chaos in the mix, because there's an intrinsic need that needs to be met at the core center of the feminine body. Her etheric body needs to be validated. It needs to be honored. She needs to feel heard. And that's a part of the security, because if she's relying on you to make decisions, then she needs to feel like she's somewhat contributing as the help meet to help contribute her emotional and intuitive perspective into making that decision, right? Again, we're talking about healthy masculinity and healthy femininity. We're not talking about anything else at this time. So if anything sounds like it's it's fairy tale or it's just not normal, I think I would suggest that one may check if they have become extremely acclimatized to the toxicity of modern relationships, instead of delving deeply into the true core desires and needs. Not even just desires. Desires are like passionate wants, but the core needs of men and women in healthy relationships. So thinking about this, guys, how a man could function well in his masculinity by receiving the respect and by giving that reciprocal energy of honor to the woman. We're talking about balance here. And where there's balance, there's life. There's life, there's fruit in the relationship that creates that sort of symbiotic relationship, right? One gives, one receives, and these are both complementary to one another. Does that make sense? Like, a woman might desire respect and demand it at that, maybe, perhaps, right? Depending on, each woman might have a certain, depending on her own experiences and her background, she might desire a lot of respect, having more masculine energy, and this has nothing to do with gender, but more of an energy. Maybe, but again, with personal experiences, she might require more respect depending on the kind of work that she does. Maybe she's always demeaned in her workplace if she works at a high level corporate office where men are always walking all over the women, and when she comes home, she wants to feel like my person respects me and honors me. But I don't want to digress into that tangent too much, but to kind of reel it back, there is a symbiotic relationship that is core center is based on a fundamental need that the masculine and the feminine energy needs in order to thrive, and that cannot be denied. Without those faculties being constantly fueled and replenished and poured into the relationship, you can expect failure, you can expect hiccups, you can expect problems, you can expect disagreements, right? And when I break down my personal relationships, I have studied particularly what makes me feel secure and happy and soft and feminine and balanced, right? And some of the things that I've learned, I've seen across the board in many other relationships that I've observed and studied. So, with understanding oneself, you can really, really get a good understanding of those around you and the energies around you because you understand yourself. This is why the first principle is knowing yourself. The more you know yourself is the more you can recognize what kind of throws you off a little bit, what kind of feels not so right, what feels ingenuine when you're real with yourself, when you practice being real with yourself. You can sense when someone's not being real with you. And so this is how I'm able to decipher when a man comes into my life. Ladies, listen carefully. When a man comes into your life and he comes with all his speculations and everything, he's at a point where he's ready to surrender his love to you, but he's unsure. And instead of dealing with the uncertainty in a healthy way by continuing to do his part and pouring into it, he instead of doing that, this man would pour into the relationship poisonous thoughts of maybe bringing up experiences from his past and assuming that you are going to be, you're going to act in a similar way or the experience will be the same. And he sort of puts you on the examining table to kind of make you prove yourself when it should just be, if that's the case, we need to take it back to courting. In courting, there is no commitment, there is no exclusivity. It's just a courting process that anyone can court you, right? Ideally, because that's how people get into these situationships and dead-end relationships, because they don't understand the stages of relationships. Let me just break it down. This man, instead of pouring into the relationship the care, the love, and the things that you need, and continuing to do that to see if there is a continuation of this mutuality that fuels him in his personal life and adds to his personal growth, he might, act out of fear and accusations and traumas. And that's how I know that he hasn't done enough healing. Because let's say, for example, if I do something that triggers him, a healed man will come to you and say, I don't really like how that made me feel. I don't really think that that's something that I want to experience again. I didn't expect that coming from you, or whatever conversation he has with you. It is some conversation to address whatever he feels and to kind of gain some clarity on why it occurred, because he's so delicate with the beginning stages of the relationship. He understands that when you're growing a little plant, right, which is the relationship, the little roots barely have an anchor. It doesn't have a fully formed root system, so you have to give it time. And in that process, you can't just be so quick to rip it up from the ground and check on the roots, and you have to kind of give it time to flourish and expect that things will come. It's just how you handle it. And so That's how I'm able to tell if a man is truly ready for a long-term commitment, is how does this man handle, how does he handle feelings of vulnerability? Does he lash out? Does he, you know, does he pull everything out from the ground? Does he just toss everything to the side and just say, you know what, I'm all done? I don't. He's not ready. He has not faced his vulnerability. He has not done enough, self work to sort of identify how much of energy he has to give a certain situation. He's reactive. And a reactive man is not a steady man, is not a stable man, is not a sturdy man. You get me? And as a woman, I need to be able to trust that when he responds, it is a response that that engages my higher self. You get me? If this man's reaction engages my reaction, he's engaging my lower self. He's engaging my fears, my wounds, my shadows, that's not something that brings me stability. It doesn't allow me to maintain my feminine. I have to now go back into protective mode and see how can I protect myself, because this person might try to hurt me. What if I've already opened up to them and they're reacting based off of something that didn't need that kind of reaction just because they aren't properly healed? And when you look at it like that, you're able to make the decision to say whether or not this person is ready for a serious commitment with you, because that's a red flag. If you move forward with a type of person that treats every little hiccup as if it's the end of the relationship or the end of the, the union, I doubt you'll ever feel truly secure. And I doubt, because their insecurity needs you to always be in some type of alignment with whatever fantasy that they have put out there that you should be. It's going to be an impossible thing. You will be feeling before you know it like you're walking on eggshells. And that's not a relationship that is healthy. A relationship that is healthy makes you feel free, makes you feel liberated, makes you feel understood, safe, guarded, protected, cared for. Love is more than just providing. Love is, as when a man loves a woman, it's more than just, making certain provisions for, things that may come up, but it's kind of an enduring understanding. It's an enduring understanding. And when you pluck up the foundational prongs or the underpinnings of the relationship that provides the security, you cannot expect a sturdy relationship. As I mentioned with the trees and the roots. If you pluck up the roots, don't expect the tree to not topple over with the slight gust of a wind. And especially if you two are, or one or both of you are attractive or extremely, you know, attractive. If one of the both of you are extremely attractive, you're gonna attract a lot of wind. You're gonna go through some turbulent seasons because people are gonna see that, they're gonna want that, and the enemy does work through people to send distractions and temptation and trials. People are going to come in and try to throw in their 2 cents and disrupt what you have going on. And, not all opinions or advice is sent to you with your best interest in mind. Sometimes it's sent to just kind of throw a little monkey wrench in your head to think the worst of something so you can manifest and lose out on your blessings. You got to know how some of these things really work. And if a man's not grounded in who he is and what he knows and how to really, like, take some time to get into his logical self, and how to also balance his, his feminine side and his emotional side to be able to interpret emotions accurately, then he's susceptible to what his girl cousin, who might just be a low-key hater, or God forbid, like, if this man has a mother that's just so clingy and trifling, she might, put some thoughts in his head, and he might just think that that's gospel and run with it, and end up sabotaging his his relationship that could have been, the end all be all for him, his happily ever after. And this happens to both men and women. Women listen to their girlfriends, and sometimes their girlfriends truly don't really want to see them happy, especially if they're not happy. You have to know what you're doing. And this is why I have this conversation with people that I'm involved with. I let them know that what the kind of relationship that when we say that we're going to be in an exclusive relationship, I expect just that. I expect exclusivity, right? I expect us to have a level of privacy that allows us to be able to be intimate with one another, and not the kind of intimacy that allows for interference and static from outside, disturbances. It sort of has to be guarded and protected by the both of us. And once I feel that this person can do just that, it's the two of us in it. You know what I mean? Like, we have to come to each other to figure out what we're doing and what's next. There's no third party figuring out anything for us. We have to rely on one another when you think of it like that, right? That's a mature relationship. I'm not saying you can't ask for wise counsel, and but at a certain age, at a certain point in your life, you should be able to sort of know how to maneuver in a relationship. This is why it's imperative to really honor your single season. Get to know yourself. Get to know who you are. Get to know your triggers, your likes, your dislikes. Get to know yourself. So when you meet someone who's self-aware, it doesn't scare you away. It doesn't shock you. It doesn't intimidate you. It doesn't make you feel inferior to where you have to put them down to sort of get the dominant disposition that you crave as a man. That's not good. That's actually doing the opposite of what you want. When you meet someone who's self-aware, it just means that. And it's not to say that if the man is not as self-aware as the woman, that it couldn't work. It takes intentionality. It takes intentionality to cultivate that good stuff, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. So if that woman is patient with you while you're cultivating, because she's done the work, she wasn't just, hopping from Tom, Dick to Harry to Larry. She took the time to just be to herself. You need to honor the fuck out of her and respect the shit out of her. Yeah. You need to honor that. Like, okay, all right, and listen when she speaks, because there's wisdom to be had, whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's wisdom to be shared and internalized. This is part of the reason why I come on here just with my voice and not my appearance, because I want there to be an understanding of the words that I'm speaking versus just this superficial. Oh, I'm just looking at her talk. Wow, she's so attractive. Oh gosh, she could break that down really good. I love what she's saying. I get that a lot on different platforms. And I want to make it clear that, that's great. Thank you. But do you really listen? Are you really digesting the gems? Are you really, are you admiring the stuff that I'm saying? And to me, that means more. That means we're thinking on the same track. That beats superficiality and external looks any day. That's just a plus, right? I know I come with a lot of I know I come with a lot of plus. I get that. Oh my gosh. But the main thing is being heard, guys. I'm not going to make this too long. It's just an introduction. We're going to do more of these. I think I'm going to break down the steps of relationships the right way. I kind of just briefly touched on it, but I want to break it down from the moment of, meeting, or how some of these relationships kind of just develop out of just, sort of a work situation, or maybe, working on a project or something along those lines, and how romance and, learning, someone might be compatible with you, how to keep that going and how to engage depending on what stage you are with the person so you don't ruin it before it's time, But then again, I also do believe that, everything happens for a reason. So if something crashes and burns before you felt like you were ready to release it, it was probably something that you weren't seeing, that you're being guided away from, protected from. So, with all things in perspective, I think there are things that we can do to give it a fighting chance, so to speak, right? Or to at least have a more pleasurable and wonderful experience. We can kind of give relationships a new name, because for so long people have just been running from them without trying to really understand how they work, to engage in them in a way that will bring that happiness and that desire to want to be in one again, right? A lot of people are saying, I don't even want to get married. I don't want a relationship. Well, that's because people have been misusing marriage and relationships immensely, immensely. And it is something that is so beautiful. I mean, unions, we're not talking about fairy tales. We're talking about unions that, with deep understanding and deep work, can be just amazing. They're, those pinnacle moments, those highs can be extremely exhilarating, where that it's, love is the strongest, most higher, most highest frequency. You will have an understanding of what that's like. And I know because I'm close to the Most High, so he shows me these things, he shows me how it could be, on a deep level here on the 3D, So that's my job, guys. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to kind of open you up to that, and help you kind of bring it down to manifest it into your life, hopefully. Because I think somewhere along the lines we went wrong as a collective. And yeah, let's get back on track, guys. Well, this is it for today's segment. This is Orator signing out. I'll see you guys on another video or another audio segment. Thank you so much for joining. If you enjoy this segment, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I don't have a regular schedule as to when I'll be uploading, so if you'd like to be notified, hit the bell after you subscribe, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye for now.